Welcome to the Healers Café, the number one show for medical practitioners and holistic healers to have heart to heart conversations about their day to day lives while sharing their expertise for improving your health and wellness.
Welcome to the Healers Cafe. And today I have with me Kavita Sahai. And she's got an interesting story. She went from Wall Street to plant medicine. And why she did this, well, I think that's what we're going to get into a little bit of the story, and then how it was completely different worlds and industries. And I'm sure there's some things that are similar. So I'd love to have that discussion with you. And so welcome to to our discussion.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's start with why. What happened? Why?
Yeah, that's kind of what my parents and family said. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had thought I'd always wanted to be in finance. I saw Pretty Woman and I thought, well, that's what I want to do, what Richard Gere was doing. And, came to learn that that was about buying and selling companies. And so I started in defense and aerospace mergers and acquisitions just post 9/11. And then went on and did technology growth investments. I got my master's at Berkeley and then did consumer products turnaround. So at this point, I was basically living on coffee and fast food.
That'll do.
And, I had started to, I think what I would call it now is experience burnout. But, you know, this was probably a decade ago, and that wasn't really a term that people use that much. And so I went to the doctor and had all these different blood tests and things done. And they were like, no, it looks normal. And I'm like, I can't be normal. I have incredible brain fog. I can't sleep. My skin is a mess. Like, surely
Right.
something is happening. And the answer was no, you're healthy. And so through a conversation, I was definitely very much a conversationalist. So I would just tell anybody who asked how you're doing, I would actually tell them. I would be like, no, I'm not doing very well. I'm not sleeping. I'm having all these issues. And so this one woman told me there was this botanist in town and she did a lot with essential oils. And so I went to visit her just on a whim, really, because I was pretty desperate. I had oils that someone had sold me, that someone had sold them, and I think I was using them all incorrectly. So I didn't really know, but she had different formulations. And I would say within 3 months, I was feeling back to my normal self. And my son at the time was in and out of the hospital for reactive airway and was on all kinds of different steroid medications. And within 6 months, he was off all prescription meds. So I was like, what is this witch oil? I must learn all about it. And so that was kind of the point where I made this shift from more of a finance career into plant medicine.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how it often takes a bit of a health crisis, right?
Yeah,
And then it's also to listening to, what's an obvious internal lie, right? Like you're perfectly healthy. Like how could a perfectly healthy person be sleepless, have all kinds of other symptoms, and yet because of some lab work that doesn't tell you anything and other diagnostic tests that leads us nowhere, you know,
right.
pretty well, tells you something that is not true.
Correct.
And, as a society, we just believe that.
Right. And
That's
I,
just
I
what,
think at that time, had I known, I would have gone and sought out a naturopath, but I didn't,
yeah,
I went for
but
the
you
traditional. So it wasn't even detailed blood work, right? It was basic blood work at that
right.
point.
No, I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there would have, if you had gone to a naturopath, there would have been other blood work. But we're used to so-called treating healthy people, um, because really they're sick, but they've been told they're healthy, right?
Correct.
So
Correct. Yeah. Well, it's funny because through the process, just again, through talking to someone, I discovered I had Hashimoto's.
right.
Not that I had it, I thought I had it. So I went to my physician and was like, I think I have Hashimoto's. And she goes, no, you don't. And I was like, well, no, I think I do. Why not run the test? It's a $7 test. And so she did. And she's like, oh, you know what? You do have it, but it doesn't matter. All it means is one day you'll have a thyroid issue. And I was like, well, could I prevent this thyroid issue? Like, could we maybe And she's like, no. So that's when I sort of dove in and did my own research around, nutrition and supplements and different things. But the oils, I think they really helped me because at the time I had a leaky gut and I wasn't absorbing anything. So there were the nutrition, nor vitamins, nor supplements, nothing was absorbing. But the oils go right into your bloodstream. Right. So that I was actually feeling the effect of. And so I could start to sleep, which was the biggest issue. And once I could sleep, I could think about
Correct. Yeah.
how to handle the rest of it. So I worked with her. I helped her grow her company, eventually sold to investors. And then I thought I was done. And then I end up talking again in conversation with this woman who's a, renowned aromatherapist, published. And, she wasn't using any of this knowledge. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm just meant to do this work. And, ended up using her help to help source the best ingredients, create the best formulations. I think one of the issues, that you see in the industry is everyone's putting essential oils in everything.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about the quality or the formulation. Like I always tell people, you could take 5 ingredients and make something, and a chef could take 5 ingredients and make something, and they're going to be very different things. Right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's, formula matters, quality
Yeah.
of, the plant species and that type, that all matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know, where are you from?
Originally India,
India, but now where are you
now in
located?
Florida.
In Florida. Okay, yeah, yeah. Well, in Canada, they're trying to get rid of natural substances. And they're actually making it that we have to do the same tests as for drugs, right? Which are in the millions and millions of
Yeah.
dollars, right? And it's like, yeah, obviously we know the agenda. We know they're trying to
Of
stop.
course, it's all driven by the pharma drugs, right? Who don't want you to be able to make any claims, even though this is probably the oldest form of medicine that's ever been around. And
Exactly.
most pharma drugs are actually based on the plant pathology and, composition that they just take and then 10 time it, right?
Time it and also modify just enough
Yeah.
so that they can patent it, right? That's
Right,
basically
right,
it.
right.
So,
For no real good reason, right? And without thought
exactly.
to what the side effect is, because Mother Nature, there's not really a side effect when you use it the right way, right? So,
Yeah, and I think it is using it the right way. I mean, I do think
correct,
that things do have side effects
of course.
if you don't know what you're doing, right? Which is why, like, being trained
Yeah.
properly matters, you know?
Right. It matters. Formulation matters, safety around products and dilution. And so that was part of my discovery was I was using them wrong. I was putting oils directly onto the body. I was probably doing more harm than good. And so when creating the brand, I really wanted to use pre-diluted, pre-formulated, you know, easy for that person who needs it because they're probably not thinking or sleeping right. So
True.
I
What
really
is
wanted to make it that easy.
Yeah, can you kind of bring us through the steps, like the critical thinking steps of, a lot of people say, "Oh, I have this oil. It must be the same." Can you kind of bring us down to somebody who's maybe they've heard that this is interesting and can help people, and now they're like gung ho and they just go to any pharmacy or any health food store, pick up the first one they can see, the one with the best advertising or the
Right.
most ones, like what would be the steps that you learned, because obviously you shared that you did it wrong to start with. So what does one need to know and be aware of?
Yeah. So I think there's 2 things. One is the quality and what is the quality of the oil? So it takes 1 pound of plant material to make 1 drop of oil. So when you think about that, if you're getting really cheap oils, you really have to wonder, could I get a pound of lavender for this 1 drop, right? Like, am I going to get 10 pounds or 20? But like, what is that actually going to cost? And so what people do is they press it many times. So usually you cold press the oils to extract the essential oil part of it, the essence. But people can do that many times. They can do mixed plant material where it's not all lavender. It could be other plant species. And so that's really what you want to look for. You want to look for, is the Latin name on there? Go to the company website. Are they actually showing you the testing results, right? Are they actually testing to make sure that what they say is lavender is actually lavender? Like, does that even go through? So that's one thing. Like, are you actually getting the good quality ingredients? The second thing is what I call ingredient stuffing. So what you'll do is you'll see these formulations and I'll have like 10 different essential oils. Well, you have to dilute them. So if there's 10 in a bottle, you're barely getting a drop. Like you're not getting enough for it to actually be able to be activated, right? So usually 3 to 4 at the max, in a formula. And I do like the idea of formulas because, again, with oils, one oil is good, but sometimes the 2 different oils will have really great synergistic properties. So it's like 1 + 1 = 5. So I do like when it's pre-formulated. But then the other thing you want to look at is what other ingredients are in there. So people are putting all kinds of different synthetics to, again, just preserve or hype the formula. I'm not quite sure what the rationale is, but really you want to be looking for pure essential oils of high quality and then a carrier oil. Personally, I think jojoba is the best. Organic jojoba is the best carrier oil because it provides for maximum absorption. But regardless, you just want to make sure, again, it's just one pure carrier oil.
So that the carrier oil is the one that allows the other ones to mix in properly, kind of.
Correct. Because you never want to put it directly on your skin. You always want to have it in a carrier oil. Even in the bath, like people put essential oils in their bath, you still want to put it in an oil and then put it in your bath.
Right. I see. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually haven't used essential oils at all in my I'm not in practice now, but when I was in practice, it was just something that never came my way. It's not. I have nothing against it, just never. But I did have a sense that it's powerful, and that you've got to know what you're doing. That it
Yeah,
can't.
it is. And that's the thing. I think, unfortunately, because it's been put in so many random products, like people don't realize that either they're not high quality and that's why, but the potency is probably 30 to 50 times of like an herb from a garden. So if you were to eat peppermint versus a drop of peppermint, it's almost a 70 times difference in potency, right? So you really want to be careful.
Yeah. So what have you found it work well for? Like, if somebody were, because I have people listening here that are looking at all kinds of modalities, maybe just as patients, clients, and they're wondering, where should I start? So what conditions do you see are really respond well to this? Are there
So I would say, I mean, there is a wide range just because Mother Nature is, you're just basically opening up the cabinet of botanicals. But if you're looking for a place to start, I really feel like the biggest place is with stress. Stress and sleep are probably our 2 best sellers. And I think that's because you are the most responsive. Like the limbic system of your brain, which is the first place that a smell is going to go to through your olfactory senses, is immediately the kind of emotional control center. So it's going to help to bring that calm. You feel the effects a little bit more immediately. And so I think that's like a really great place to start. And really, I think stress is the root cause of most health issues. So it's a great thing to be able to couple with anything else.
Right. And then, and what do you typically, or is there like a questionnaire you go through, or people sort of just pick, um, like what brands would you pick, or how would you, I mean, go through, you probably have a brand or you work for a brand, right? But
Yeah, so I have my own brand. It's Kavita Sahai. And so we have a wellness quiz that someone can take. It can describe their different conditions and it would suggest what oil would be best. I think that there's, again, many different ways that you can approach it. It can be through the different energy bodies, right? That you're trying to do. Ours are also coordinated to the different chakra systems. So to the sense that, that's something you're looking for. We always say, like, is there a color that you're craving? If you find you're always reaching for something, it could be that that's an energy center that needs support. So that's another way to kind of approach it and integrate it into the practice. But I think a simple, really high quality lavender or sandalwood, again, it's just going to help to ground the person and help them to calm that fight or flight feeling.
Right. Okay. And what about for like nerve pain? Because that's something that, mainstream medicine only has blockers of pain, which sometimes work, sometimes don't, mostly don't. And never mind the side effects.
Right. Well, never mind the side effects for any of it, right?
Well, exactly. But if you look at pain medication, given that it is not a cure, it doesn't in the least, it may stop a pattern that, that has some merit, um, really there's very little to offer with people that have, neuralgias and all that.
Yeah.
And then, as far as the vitamins and supplementation, that there are things, but again, there's only so much magnesium and sometimes
Right.
calcium.
And again, you have to be able to absorb it. If your body is not in a position to absorb it, you're
Yeah,
just peeing it out.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So what, and as far as like, I was going to say naturopathy or, homeopathy, I mean, there's lots of things that may work, but that's one that a lot of people have, and a lot post the latest experiment, on humanity. A lot of
Right.
people have a lot of
Which,
neurology.
aromatherapy does help with the loss of smell
Oh,
in
okay, that's what I was
training,
yeah.
right? So there's that,
Yeah, but there's
As far as specific oil, I've heard of lavender and ginger being used for nerve pain.
okay.
Um, I haven't, we don't have a specific formulation for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I wonder if that, given, that we're now seeing, I mean, when people are sitting in a room and you ask, do you know anyone who's been affected by,
Right,
what's going on? Everyone's got their hand up.
right,
But
right,
if
right.
you try and look at any official sources directly or in the past, it sounds like, oh, it was such a small, minuscule event, well worth the compromise. And anyway, but we know it's not true, and truth comes out eventually. So,
Of course.
and now we're in this big awakening where people are, sadly, but realizing that they've been duped. And
Yeah, no, I have good friends whose sons since taking it have had headaches.
What would your life be like if you were pain-free? If you were one of the millions who suffer from chronic pain, the thought of just one day without it may seem impossible. This is often because conventional medicine tends to fall short in the treatment of pain, opting to prescribe pills or recommend surgery rather than getting to the root cause of the problem. But if you are suffering with emotional or physical pain, there is hope. Join the founder and CEO of Bowen College, Manon Bolliger, live online for your body-mind reboot. Learn how to listen to your symptoms and get to the root cause of your pain. Plus, be trained in basic Bowen therapy moves so that you can reboot your body for optimal health. You don't have to live in pain. You can heal. Stop the pain pill cycle by visiting www.yourbodymindreboot.com to learn more and to register.
exactly.
And that we're talking, what, 3-4 years later, constant migraines?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I was wondering, like, I would think that herbs, like this kind of thing might be very helpful, because you've got to work with the autonomic nervous system.
Yep.
All of this causes stress, right? The mental stress of realizing that you can't
Yeah.
trust the people you thought you should trust, um, which is, huge, is a major betrayal. So there's a lot of emotional
There's
components
a lot of emotions.
and then there's true, spike damage, and at least I think 30 pathways that it can damage the human being, right? So yeah, that's why I was thinking that might be a great avenue for, the demand is there. That's why I was wondering, how do you
Yeah,
feel?
yeah, no, it's an interesting look. Look, I think all of the different oils do help support the systems, and they do help support the different pathways, right, for repair.
Mm,
Specifically, I couldn't suggest which oil would be best, depending. Like if the way it's manifesting is in migraines, then I would say like peppermint and lavender are really great.
right.
If it's real like pain, then helichrysum and juniper and myrrh, like those are really great oils for that. So some of it sort of depends, I think, on how because what I think has been interesting is it's really different in each person.
Well, it's an accelerator of their predispositions,
Right. Right.
So, which I think is why so-called modern medicine, those doctors have a hard time understanding it,
Right.
because it feels like individualized. Therefore, it can't be caused by
Right. No.
thing
I think everyone's very clear what caused it, but whether they decide they want to say or not, but it is, I think you're right. It's just accelerating what was already there. And then, but I think the only real way we can address is by supporting our systems to do what they do best.
100%. And I think that's what, everyone I interview that has possibly something, natural to help the person, I want them to have hope because, so first of all, most of the doctors, at least here in Canada, they're in denial.
Oh yeah, here too.
Okay, so anyway, there's a huge denial piece, and like, what do you think this came from? I don't know, it's like, oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, they're not really understood, and the doctors, I'm not saying they are lying necessarily. Like, it's possible. Like in Canada, 92% of the doctors took it themselves.
Yeah, no, here too. I'm sure, I don't know what the statistic is, but I believe that they believe it was the right move and that they still do. I think that most, unless they have a huge reaction in their own family, I think they still believe that it was for humanity the right move or whatever it is.
Right? Like,
but the question is, well, but no one's having the conversation now is how do we support people's health and their immune systems and all the things that we've triggered in them.
Yeah. And that's why I think there's a huge opportunity for, natural health to really go, okay, it doesn't matter, your doctor doesn't get it yet.
Right. Right. Well, and I think consumers do. I think this is probably has to be the biggest wake-up call, right?
I think so.
And so it's like, well, if I have to think about it for myself, and I always tell people, experiment. Like it worked amazingly well for me. It might not for you, but you have to give it a try. Like try something consistently for a month.
Yeah.
Different natural modalities that don't have the side effects.
Exactly.
And then see and experiment. It's your health. I can't think of a greater place to invest your time or money.
Mm-hmm. And that's from a Wall Street broker.
Right. That's right. That's my stock tip of the day.
Oh, that's funny. So just switching back to that. So what are you finding any, like obviously you've made a business grow because of your knowledge, right? And I find, that there are no coincidences in life, and we have our path, and it may seem strange, but it always makes sense.
Yeah.
So what have you been able to bring into what you're doing now from your past? What is it that you've, that you realize because of it?
I think what I realized was a lot of how I shaped product development, right? So I made it for people like me. It was the busy person who knew they wanted high quality, but didn't have the time to mix and concoct and, sell to their friends, right? Like I made it for me. And then I made it in fun packaging. Like I just wanted it to be like fun and feel like health was fun. And so I think it was the experience of what it felt like and knowing that I needed it to be easy. Like affirmations are on the box. If you can't think of any in the moment, just use that one. and really just trying to make this whole thing fun and easy came because of the experience I had.
Right. Oh, interesting. Yeah. You don't have any boxes around, do you?
Oh yeah, of course. Here, I'll grab it.
You said it's fun. I'd like to see it.
So like this is our breathe. This muscle ease.
Yeah.
just easy enough to roll on.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
it's just smells so good.
Yeah. So how much do you like? So you I mean you have your journey right with it. So it took 3 months. You said
I'm sorry, what's that?
it took you 3 months, right, to
To feel better.
start to feel better,
Yeah.
right? And just by doing this or whatever, that's it.
Right. Well, I mean, that was the thing. It was literally, she was just like, it was kind of like, she was just like, just breathe. Right. Put it on your pulse points, take a breath 3 times a day. And that was it. And what I liked about it is it was fun. It wasn't like, it's like rolling a perfume on or something, right?
Right,
You're just like,
exactly. Yeah.
all right, I don't have to swallow something. I don't have to swallow a big pill. I don't have to like drink some nasty liquid. Like, this is fun. This is easy. So it was easy to do. Right. Because again, the best medicine is the thing that you'll actually take, right? The best exercise is the exercise you'll actually do.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I'm sleeping better. My focus is better. Like it just all sort of, and then I really do believe sleep is one of the cornerstones of health. And so from sleeping better, I think a lot of other things started to resolve.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you put the body back essentially in balance and then
Exactly.
it knows what to do, right? So
It does. It does. You just need to support it. You don't need to shock it with chemicals or anything else, right?
No, or a bunch of natural things too, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, I'm not one of those naturopaths that sold supplements as a large part of my income. I was
Yeah.
like hands-on and listening, right? So I think my supplements might have maybe 10%, not even, right?
Whereas I feel like most it's 50.
Oh, it is 50. It
Yeah.
absolutely. And people come out with these massive bags of things
Yeah.
they can't swallow.
Yeah, I did switch to a naturopath through my journey, and I always had a hard time swallowing pills, but I would somehow end up walking out with like 4 or 5 bottles every time. So
Yeah, no, I know. And I think it kind of misses the point. It's to me, it's a bit like the allopathic model, but with natural things.
right.
You're still chasing physiological effects, rather than looking at the root of what's wrong. The person is not sleeping, and usually they're in stress, right? So their
Yeah.
autonomic nervous system is out,
Yep.
right? And if you can address that, I mean, I do it, I do it differently. I'm sure have you heard of Bowen therapy?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so I have Bowen College,
Yeah.
and I have a program called Simple Solutions for Stress, and it's a physical therapy that resets the autonomic nervous system.
It's amazing.
But that's just all that does is exactly the same thing. It
Yeah.
it allows you to get to sleep and to digest your food and rest. It's like,
And it's amazing when you do those two things, how everything else falls in line. Yeah, no, look, I think natural medicines, just like, the oils, it has to be the right, it has to be the right quality.
yeah,
It has to be the right formulator.
yeah.
It's like all those pieces really have to align, and then it works beautifully to help support whatever root cause issue you might be having. But in spite of that, sometimes it's just like you can't throw everything at it.
No, exactly. You can't. Yeah. Cool. So, I'm just trying to think, what have we not covered that you think is important, either as also healthcare practitioners that might be interested? I have a lot of doctors watching these shows.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is really be open. It used to be, I can remember when meditation was thought to be like a crazy woo-woo thing. And
Right.
I think that when thinking about these new modalities, whether it's oils, or even affirmations, like people get well just by telling themselves they're going to get well and really believing it. And again, I think that emotional control center, if you can help bring that into your practice of really helping give them a ritual to make them feel like I'm going to be better, I believe that that's tremendously helpful.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need something to anchor in the ritual, which is why we put affirmations on the package. Because I really do feel if you can make it a ritual that's pleasant, then people, you're going to get compliance, and that's the biggest thing. So I would just say be open to some of these different modalities.
Mhm. Yeah, and I like the idea of a habit too, right? Because it is a continual affirmation. You know, every time you do it, it's like a little piece of self-love, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's not like once a week. You know, it's
Right. It's just constantly. And, I tied it to my meals because, so it used to be that we prayed before we ate, right? And why did we do that? It was to calm our nervous system, to
right.
get the food in.
Yeah.
That's why every culture prays before eating. Well, now nobody prays before eating. So I just made putting on the oil my,
Right.
before I ate, because it would help keep me calm and digest better. And it was easy to tie it to a different ritual.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I think they still do gratitude,
Yes.
meal.
But not so much before eating. Like, I haven't seen people be like, I think people do like morning gratitude or evening gratitude, but I just don't find that it's before a meal anymore.
I don't know. I still do it.
That's
I've
great. That's
trained
great.
that, but yeah, I just feel like it actually allows me to center and take a break between what I'm about to enjoy. And I'm a real foodie. I love food.
Yeah.
So
Me
it's
too.
like I like to see my plate and then go, wow, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that.
But I could see adding a little something.
Yeah. No, I think it's the whole point is the practice of praying before eating was just a way to, like, again, get yourself ready
Yes. Yes.
and center yourself and ground and not be like, and then,
Yeah, or the way you were doing your
yeah,
junk food in a
exactly. Junk food. And even then I wasn't sitting to eat. It was like on the run, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah. Anyway, if you look at, now that so much truth is coming out,
yeah, that's right.
it's amazing how everything, including the fast food, all of this. I mean, of course, there's a demand for it because ignorant people will demand things, that are easy. But, we're all slaves in a system
Right.
that makes it easy for us to demand things that go faster
Right.
because we don't have time to do a lot of the things, or we think we don't have time.
We
or
think we
we're
don't
not.
have time. That's right.
Yeah, I think. I think there's so much to be changed. Look, we're entering the most exciting time in
I think so too.
world history. So I'm
I think
super
there's this awakening that's happening. People are starting to realize that, like, things that are packaged and just microwaved may not be the best for you. And, maybe you should have whole produce. And I even think we're going to see it in the beauty world too. Like right now, the skin is our largest organ and we're putting just about anything on it. And I think there's going to be an awakening around that too. Like, should we go back to plant oils?
Yeah, or even just actually good nutrition, right?
Right. Right.
It's not like I don't use stuff
Right.
on my face.
Right. And look how beautiful your skin is. Yeah, exactly.
I eat internally,
Exactly.
So yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned, and shared. I think a lot of this is old knowledge, right? It just got set to the side for interests that were financial.
Right.
And I think health and all that, I think it's time, people are realizing that is all we've got. Without it, we can't do anything,
Exactly.
So
It is truly wealth. And so
truly.
it's time to invest and try and see what works best. But there's no reason why everyone shouldn't be looking and feeling vibrant. There really isn't. The tools are there.
All right. Well, thank you, Kavita, for sharing your knowledge and your life.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café. If you haven't already done so, please like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on, as I post a new podcast every Wednesday with tons of useful information and tips for natural healing that you won't want to miss.